Hello and welcome. I'm Sima Katauka and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the headlines of this hour. Palestinian media has reported that on Sunday, dozens of Israeli settlers stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque in East Jerusalem during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, performing Talmudic rituals under Israeli police protection. The incident comes amid heightened security restrictions in East Jerusalem. According to South Korea's foreign ministry, South Korea has urged the Russian embassy in its capital, Seoul, to remove a 15-meter "Victory Will Be Ours" banner displayed ahead of the 4th anniversary of Russia-Ukraine war. One of Mexico's most notorious drug lords, Nemesio Oseguera Mencho, or El Mencho, was killed in a military raid, sparking widespread retaliatory violence. Iran's Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi has confirmed that further US-Iran talks are set to take place in Geneva on Thursday. US Secret Service has shot an armed intruder at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, according to media reports. Brazilian President Lula da Silva is visiting South Korea following his trip to India. Lula is the first Brazilian president to visit South Korea in 20 years. Greenland's Prime Minister Hans Fredrik Nielsen has said no thanks to US President Donald Trump's idea of sending a hospital ship to Greenland, a territory that Trump has repeatedly said he wishes to take over. China is making a full assessment of the US Supreme Court's tariff ruling and urged Washington to lift relevant unilateral tariff measures on its trading partners. Now we start this hour with Mexico in a major development. Mexican drug trafficker Nemesio Oseguera, known as El Mencho, has been killed in a military operation in Jalisco, Mexico. The operation has sparked violent clashes, including vehicle fires and road blockages in several states. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has reassured citizens that despite the unrest of most of Mexico remains calm, with coordinated efforts between state governments to manage the situation. The death of El Mencho has triggered a wave of violence across the country, with arson attacks reported in various states, including Oaxaca and Guanajuato. The operation left Oseguera seriously injured. He has died during an air transfer to Mexico City, with U.S. authorities providing complement Army information. Now we welcome Mr. Jose Maria Valdez. He's a logistics and operations analyst and resident of Guadalajara. Joins us live from Guadalajara. Thank you very much, Mr. Maria Valdez, for joining us. Welcome to NewsX World.
Hi, good night. Nice to meet you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Now, looking at this with the death of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, how significant is this blow to the operational strength of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, and does history suggest the cartel will weaken or simply adapt?
In my opinion, it's a pretty big blow for the organization. But in the end, with this type of organizations, when you take their leader off, they'll just take another guy and put it there, and they'll continue their business. Usually they have these inside plans to take their leader, and sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. So yeah, I think it's a pretty big blow. But in the end, just another guy will come by and they will keep their business as usual in the end. And of course, it will weaken it for a little bit. Usually, when a big drug lord cartel guy is taken by the police, or they kill him or something, there's usually this war between cartels or narcos, and that's what I'm expecting in the next days, next months for the country. There will be a lot of chaos, but yeah, usually that's what happens in these cases.
So, after news of El Mencho's death, cartel linked violence erupted across multiple states. So, does this coordinated response indicate strong internal cohesion within CJNG, or is it a sign of desperation?
I guess, I mean, this cartel is in all of Mexico and also in a lot of other countries. So, of course, it's a clear response. Usually, when the police or the government takes these types of leaders, it, this is the usual response. They make chaos. They burn transport. They burn particular vehicles. They started some shootings and stuff. These also happened like 2 years ago with the son of El Chapo, El Chapito, we call him. So it's kind of like the same thing that is happening right now. Uh, it's usually just in the state, but right now, because it's their leader of the whole cartel, I think it's in the whole country. So I guess it will be not as desperation. It's just the immediate response that these organizations have when they take their leaders off.
Right. Thank you for highlighting that. And according to reports, a U.S. military led task force provided intelligence support for this operation. So, how sensitive is U.S. involvement towards such operations within Mexico? And could this strain domestic politics, or how would this affect Mexico U.S. relations?
Well, in this case, I believe it's a bad thing for Mexico. Well, in my opinion, we don't want U.S. forces to come here, and it, that means invasion in the end. You know, you've seen what happens in Iran, you've seen what happens in Israel, you've seen what happened in Venezuela. So we have clear cases of this happening. So it's a tough question. Of course, it's sensitive. I guess it's helping us to get rid of these organizations, but I don't think it's the way of doing it because this will cause a literal war within the country, and they won't get affected by it. You know, we will be the ones here in Mexico. We will be the ones that are affected by this war, this chaos, and they'll just be there in the United States, just chilling. You know, so yeah, without question, I guess it's it's gonna be a tough relation. Usually, the president makes every morning the interviews on the weekday, so we'll see what happens tomorrow with that matter.
Yes, we will be eyeing that. And Mr. Valdez, last but not least, strategically speaking, does eliminating a high profile cartel leader like El Mencho mark a turning point in Mexico's fight against organized crime, or does it risk triggering further fragmentation?
As I said before, usually what happens when they take a leader of these cartels, um, there's a war just to a war between the cartels just to see who takes that spot, you know, who takes that territory, who takes that I don't know that territory for the drug dealing or for the money or for the money laundering. I don't know. It's a lot of things, a lot of aspects that you need to take care of. But we've seen that happen with El Chapo. We've seen that happen with La Barbie. We've seen that happen with El Mayo. So there's been a lot of cases where high profile cartel leaders are taken care of, but it doesn't help with the situation. You know, it doesn't help with the violence. It doesn't help with the insecurity the country's living. So, as I said, usually what happens is right now it's very uncertain what will be the reaction they have, but it's usually a lot of violence in the coming days, a lot of um, gunshots, a lot of I don't know takedowns with the police, with the army, with there's a lot of things to think about, but I don't think it's gonna help us. It's just gonna create more chaos. And as I said, they will just put another guy, and that's it. Nothing will change.
With that, I'd like to thank Mr. Jose Maria Valdez for joining us today and sharing that insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we move on to Iran. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has stated that recent talks with the United States have yielded encouraging signals. In a post on social media, Pezeshkian has said that while Iran remains committed to peace and stability in the region, the country is closely monitoring U.S. actions. He has added that Iran has made all necessary preparations for any potential scenario. The talks included the exchange of practical proposals, with Iran continuing to push for diplomatic solutions while remaining vigilant. Now we welcome retired Colonel Sanjay Sirohi. He's an international relations and defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Colonel, for joining us.
Good Thank you.
Thank you. Now, looking at this, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian states that the recent talks with U.S. yielded encouraging signals. Also, his comments come very positive or warm compared to Foreign Minister Arakchi's statements from today or yesterday, where he says that any U.S. attack would they would have the right, Iran would have the right to protect themselves and attack any U.S. Bases around the region. So, what do you think about this, tone, the difference in tone of the foreign minister and Iranian president, both within Iran?
Well, Asuma, thank you very much for having me on your news channel and discussing something very, very serious and important. Now, the point is that although the 2 rounds of talks have taken place, one in Muscat and second one is Geneva, and the third is likely to be on Thursday in Geneva itself. So there are mixed signals coming from both the president as well as the foreign minister. Whereas the president is saying that it is yielding encouraging signals, and whereas the foreign minister says that we are prepared for any eventuality, that is any military conflict, which the Americans, they try to put on Iran. So I think, to my mind, that both the parties, that is the Americans and the Iranians, they are very, very skeptical about the outcome of these talks. That's why you'll see that at one point of time they are very optimistic about the talks. And secondly, based on that only, then they start saying that we are prepared militarily to face any consequences which may come up. So I think it is both the sides are trying to buy the time. And if they are both trying to buy the time and both are preparing for the war, so let us see what happens. But I am not very hopeful of these talks which are going to come up in the next round.
Yes. And what do you think? What do you think about the current U.S. stance? For the upcoming talks in Geneva on Thursday, they haven't issued much, especially President Trump from himself.
Look, Asuma's point is that now the Americans have put up the proposals. Iranians have gone through the proposal. Now they are going to go back with the counter proposals. Now, what are the counter proposals? They have not been leaked out. Nothing has come out of that. But we know the red lines. The red line is that Donald Trump wants that the Iranians should stop enrichment, and whatever enriched uranium they have, they must hand over. That is number one. Number two, he wants that the Iranians, they must control, or they must have cap on their missile program also. And thirdly, they also want that the Iran should stop supporting their proxies, that is the Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis and other this thing. So these are the 3 requirements. But as far as the Iranians are concerned, they are talking about that, yes, nuclear deal is okay, but what about the sanctions? So that perspective about the sanctions is totally different from the American side and from the Iranian side. That is number one. Number two, Iran may agree to give away the enriched uranium, but their foreign ministers have number of times he has said that the Iranians have got every right to decide for themselves whether they want to enrich or not. So that is the point which is going to be a very, very big point of contention between both the parties. Then regarding the missile cap, Iranians are not going to accept this. As far as the proxies, supporting proxies is concerned, Iranians may accept, may not accept. So I think there are a lot of grounds to be covered before they reach any deal. So I think we have to wait, but the time is running out. It is question of when only, because the military operations will take place. When will that take place? It is $1 million question. Asuma.
Thank you very much, Colonel Sirohi, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you. Now, we stay in Iran. Thousands of Iranian students are once again demonstrating in Tehran and across the country, marking the second day of protests following deadly nationwide unrest. The protests, which started after a deadly crackdown during the January protests, have intensified at top universities, including the University of Tehran, where clashes erupted between anti-establishment students and pro-government groups. The unrest has spread to other regions, with security forces charging at students. As Iran faces rising tensions with the US and Israel, the government has faced strong opposition, with discrepancies between state media and viral footage from student bodies. Now we welcome back Colonel Sanjay Sirohi. Thank you very much, Colonel, for staying with us. Now that the protests have erupted once again, and we saw how it was unfolding last time, which wasn't very long ago, how do you think, how cornered is the Iranian government, and also how would they try to deal with these protests to make sure they maybe to be a little more mindful about their reputation internationally?
Well, now if we see that last time when the protest started, it started from the houses, it started from the streets, it started from the market.
Yes.
This time the protest, there is a total difference. This time the protest has started from the university. And whenever any protest starts from university by the students, whether it was in Indonesia, whether it was in Bangladesh, or it was in Nepal, the protest is very, very serious. And the students, because being young in age, and they have got more risk appetite, so it is very, very difficult to control that. Because it is not only the students who are protesting. If anything goes wrong and if there are casualties among the students, then even the parents get involved. So I think this time it is a very, very serious issue. And why it is more serious for the Iranian government, especially from the Islamic leadership, is that the students are saying that they are anti-Khamenei regime, and they are shouting against regime. And they are saying that Khamenei is a dictator, he is a murderer. So I think this time it is quite serious. And unless in 1 or 2 days this protest is controlled, Iranian government is going to face a lot of problems, because the students, when they start off, especially when they have started from a Sharif University of Technology, which is quite a famous university, so I think the things can get worse day by day. So it is in the interest of the Iranian government to stop these protests as early as possible, speak to the students instead of using violence. They must speak to the students and try to stop the protests at the earliest. Asuma.
Yes, and also, do you think that, well, we can only speculate here, but do you think that the mercenaries or the street protesters earlier, they might join, and this might emphasize or impact or become bigger?
Exactly. That is what I said. That when the students, they come on the street, so it is not only, initially they are students only, but later on they are not only students, they are the family members, they are other people also, and there may be many more who were keeping quiet till now, but once they see students coming on the streets and shouting against the government, then I think more people are likely to join. And if more people are likely to join, then there is a problem for Iranian administration, Iranian government, because last time when they used the force, the 7,000 people, I believe, were killed during those protests. So if this protest also continues and it becomes more this thing, with large number of people join it, so I think it will become more problem for the Iranians. And with Americans sitting next door waiting for an opportunity to attack Iran, so things might be, Iran may have to fight two fronts. One, they may have to fight Americans and the Israelis, and the second they have to fight internally against the protesters. So I think it is in the interest of the Iranian government that they must make sure that this protest come to an end as early as possible.
And Colonel, lastly, how do you analyze Israel's role and also Israel's capacity, since we know that last year during the 12 days war, Iranian missiles did penetrate through the Iron Dome in Israel?
Exactly, because now this time, last time they had fired 500 missiles, but I believe now this time they are ready with 2,500 to 3,000 missiles. Even the Iron Dome, which is the air defense system, cannot control or cannot stop all these missiles reaching Israel. So Israel is going to have very tough time. That's why the Israelis are also preparing, and they are preparing defensive, they are in defensive posture, because they know that once the Americans, they start hitting the Iranian missiles at other sites, at that point of time, the Iranian is going to reciprocate with more missiles on all the bases of the Americans in the Middle East and also against Israel. So I think Israel is more worried. And this time the Israel will have very tough time, because the Iranians are going to fire large number of missiles and drones, and they have learnt lessons from the last year war. And with those lessons, I think the Iranians will be able to destroy much more than what they did last year in 12-day war.
With that, I'd like to thank Colonel Sanjay Sirohi for joining us and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. We have a breaking news coming in from EU. According to reports, the European Union has failed to secure US and G7 support for blocking Russian oil supplies as part of its 20th anti-Russian sanctions package. A diplomatic source in Brussels has revealed that while the EU pushed for a full ban on European businesses involved in transporting Russian oil, the United States has refused to join the initiative. Other G7 members expressed willingness, but stopped short of committing. Internal divisions within the EU have also delayed progress, with Hungary blocking the package unless Ukraine resumes Russian oil transit via the Druzhba pipeline. Now we move on to South Korea. South Korea's foreign ministry has officially requested that the Russian embassy in Seoul remove the large banner reading "Victory will be ours" displayed on the embassy's exterior ahead of the 4th anniversary of Russia and Ukraine war. The banner in the colors of the Russian flag was noticed in central Seoul and has raised concerns given the timing. The ministry reiterated its position that Russia's invasion is illegal and criticized the ongoing military cooperation between Russia and North Korea, describing it as a significant threat to South Korea's national security. Despite the ministry's request, no response has been received from the Russian embassy, which was closed for a public holiday. South Korea has emphasized the importance of adhering to international laws and urged Russia to hold its destabilizing actions. Now we are receiving a breaking news coming in from US. The US Customs and Border Protection Agency will stop collecting tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act starting at 0501 GMT on Tuesday, February 27 this year. Following a Supreme Court ruling declaring them illegal, all tariffs codes tied to President Trump's previous IEEPA orders will be deactivated in the automated commercial environment system by February 24th. This change aligns with the introduction of a new 15% global tariffs by President Trump, replacing the tariffs struck down by the court. Shippers have been informed of the updates via CBP's messaging system. Now we stay in U.S. New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani has declared a state of emergency in the city as a major snowstorm hits. The blizzard causing the city's skyline to disappear into a thick cloud of snow. Starting at 2 a.m. GMT on today, Mamdani has imposed a citywide travel ban prohibiting all non-emergency traffic, including cars, trucks, and e-bikes. However, essential and emergency services are exempt from the ban. The mayor has urged New Yorkers to stay off the streets as the storm is expected to bring the worst conditions yet. Let's listen in.
Due to these factors, we are declaring a state of emergency and instituting a travel ban starting at 9 p.m. this evening and ending at 12 p.m. tomorrow. The state of emergency closes the streets, highways, and bridges of New York City for all traffic, cars, trucks, scooters, and e-bikes, with some specific exemptions for essential and emergency movement. We are asking New Yorkers to avoid all non-essential travel.
Meanwhile, tourists have continued to brave the elements, with many visiting the Times Square to capture the snowy New York experience. Despite the travel disruption and freezing temperatures, visitors are making the most of their time in the city, witnessing a unique side of New York under the storm's heavy snowfall. The storm, which is impacting the entire northeast U.S., has already led to widespread travel delays, and New Yorkers and tourists alike are staying alert as the city braces for further disruption. Let's listen in.
Sí, cambia un poco los planes, entonces ya no es caminar en el puente de Brooklyn, sino pasar en carro en el puente de Brooklyn, no ir a la Estatua de la Libertad tal vez, pero no sé, caminar por Times Square más tiempo. Cambian los planes, pero digamos que el clima, sin embargo, no es un impedimento para disfrutar y vivir de la experiencia neoyorquina. Me gusta, digamos que para nosotros los turistas es una experiencia nueva. Y disfrutarlo. Siento que igual Nueva York, ya sea en verano, otoño, primavera, invierno, hay plan para todo el mundo. O sea, para todo hay plan, así sea en invierno y con frío y nevando.
Now we move on to North Korea. North Korea's ruling Workers' Party of Korea has re-elected leader Kim Jong-un as General Secretary during the fourth day of its party congress, according to local state media. A laudatory report on state television credited Kim with raising the country's international standing and strengthening its military into what it called an elite and powerful force. The meeting also elected new members to the party's Central Committee and approved revisions to party rules, though no details were released. The Ninth Party Congress, a key event held every 5 years, is being closely watched by South Korea for any signals of shifts in domestic or foreign policy. Meanwhile, China's President Xi Jinping has congratulated Kim, saying Beijing was ready to open a new chapter in relations with Pyongyang amid what he described as once-in-a-century global changes. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.